This presentation will compel you to use least restrictive restraints while keeping patients safe. Before we begin, let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for your commitment to care. I applaud you. You touch many lives and you make a difference. This serves as a capstone experience for mastery of nursing science at Excelsior College. It is an honor and an obligation as a master's prepared nurse to apply the knowledge, skills, and ability of my profession. I've been a nurse for almost 25 years, and I've worked mostly in progressive and critical care. My name is Marilyn. This project has inspired me to share widely what I've learned. It is my hope that your passion will grow as you participate in this learning. Protection. The medical reason for using restraints. It is easy to establish a strong case to protect our patients. All the devices pictured are similar to items currently in use in healthcare organizations. There are many companies that help us meet patient safety needs. Reflect on quality and safety for a moment. Are we doing all we can to keep our patients safe? Restraints are at times medically necessary to care for people. Using such devices requires special training and knowledge. When restraints are not used in ways supported by evidence, policies, and practice, restraints can be deadly. What story does the evidence tell? In nursing, learning is lifelong. I've been taught to use restraints, protect patient rights and safety, to provide quality care. We must continue to learn as new evidence is discovered. When searching for evidence to support this project, I reviewed quality and safety topics. Once the evidence was exposed by the stories told, I was not prepared for my own emotional response. The dangers of using restraints may have tragic consequences. What stories compel us to keep people safe? These are examples of court cases ruled as homicides in the hands of healthcare providers. The deaths were related to restraint use. In the first case, investigations found deficiencies in hospital training, staffing, policy, and procedures. The second case was secured transport of an inmate by an ambulance to the emergency department. On arrival, he was in cardiopulmonary arrest, but no one knew. He did not recover. The settlements were huge. Beyond the financial burden, just imagine for a moment that you were the administrator who had to tell these families how their loved one died. The study by Equip for Equality examined other deaths. It is well documented that work over 10 years to reduce and eliminate restraints was inadequate. Efforts to reduce restraints must be dramatically enhanced. We need to change our dangerous practice in all settings. In this case, a young boy was suffocated by his care providers because he did not follow their instructions. Here are two more cases. Tom was 49 years old. He was brought to the emergency department by EMS after police found him intoxicated, wandering along a riverbank. Tom's death while in restraints went unreported for a month. Investigation revealed an extensive number of deficiencies related to policy, procedure, training, and practice of restraint use. Loretta was found gasping after slipping down in her chair with a safety belt around her neck. No change was made in her care plan. 2 days later, at 5:30 p.m., Loretta was in her room, seated in her wheelchair, restrained by the lap belt. At 6:10, Loretta was found dead. Equip for Equality investigated many deaths related to restraints. For some, the use of restraints meant dying alone while hanging from the side of the bed, strangled by the very devices to keep them safe. For others, it meant dying on the floor or ground because no one responded to their cries when they could not breathe. Some were restrained when they acted out because they were hungry, others restrained because they did not follow staff instruction. The Joint Commission guides our use of restraints. Restraints are high priority on radar during surveys. How many of you have been in the survey hot seat as you told your patient's care story? You told about documentation, frequent rounds, providing for comfort and body functions. Policies are written with the intention to support safe practice. Surveyors want to hear safe practice examples that support policies. Many of you have been there. You remember the surveys like they were yesterday. The Joint Commission reports that human factors are root causes leading to death and permanent loss of function related to restraint use. In this list, there were 555 lives touched by our care. What are human factors? Let's use Swiss cheese to describe this. Every hole in the cheese represents a gap. Think of the holes as a gap in care. A human factor can be inadequate staffing, skill mix, orientation, education, competency, supervision. Other descriptions are rushing, fatigue, distraction, complacency, or bias. How do we close the gaps? The number one way to resolve this problem is through leadership. Leaders are responsible for operations. Their organizational responsibilities include planning, education, directing care services, practice guidelines, dealing with noncompliance, leading the way for performance improvement, and ensuring competency. In 1992, the Food and Drug Administration issued warnings about restraint use due to reports of death and injury. Restraint guidelines were published. The FDA estimated annually restraints may result in at least 100 deaths or injuries. At that time, the right to be free from seclusion and restraint became public law. Patients have the right to be free from restraints of any form that are not medically necessary or are used as a means of coercion, discipline, convenience, or retaliation by staff. Ethics is tied directly to any discussion about restraints. Every individual must consider their own power in ethical practice. Not only your practice, you are an advocate for your patients. You have a voice, an obligation to speak up for patients, an obligation to keep them safe, a desire to do for them what you would expect them to do for your own loved ones. Never underestimate the power of one person. To apply these simple principles, we must understand the force and impact of our actions. As advocates of care, ethics begins with good communication skill. We are taught to first do no harm, be caring and respectful, allow patients to have a voice, encourage self-determination, help guide informed decisions, give everyone what is due, do what should be done, do the right thing, be sensitive with patient information. This concludes the introduction to least restrictive restraint use. It is an honor and special privilege to share the inspired information. At this time, I'd like to invite all of you to ask questions or leave comments on how this presentation may impact your practice.